Call to order. This is a special meeting, board training workshop of the Board of Managers of the Moreland Independent School District, being held July 13, 2020, beginning at 12 p.m. in the Moreland Middle School Library. The subject to be discussed or considered upon which any formal action may be taken or listed below. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown on this meeting notice, unless removed from the consent agenda. Items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. All right, we have roll call. Board Manager Terry.
Present.
Board Manager Vickers.
Here.
Board Manager Johnson. All three members of the board is present. Please stand for the pledge. And still remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
To the
to the
flag
flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public comment. All right. We're going into closed session. Consideration of personnel, consideration of employee contract, approved to Texas Government Code Section 551.074, instructional coach, Marlin Elementary School, Dean of Instruction, Marlin Middle School, Dean of Instruction, Marlin High School, and 2020-2021 organizational chart amendment. The time is 12:02. We're going to close session. Second open session, consideration of the possibility of approval of instructional coach, Marlin Middle School, Dean of Instruction, Approval of instructional coach, Marlin Elementary School, Dean of Instruction, Marlin Middle School, Dean of Instruction, Marlin High School, and 2020-2021 organizational chart amendment.
Mr. President, can I do that all? Can I make that all in one motion, those positions?
Yes.
I move that we, for contracts to Christina Sanchez for elementary instructional coach and Demetrium Smith for elementary instructional coach also. And then William Ely for middle school dean of instruction and Chris Shaver for high school dean of instruction.
You heard the motion. Is there a second?
Yes.
We have a second. Any further discussion on it? If not, we'll vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion passed 3-0. Next is superintendent report. Superintendent.
One more thing, Mr. President.
I'm sorry.
And you said it and I did not, but I move that we also amend the organizational chart for 2021.
Second.
Okay. Been moved and second. Any further discussion on that? If not, we'll vote. All in favor, raise your hand. Motion passed 3-0. Now we have the superintendent report.
Thank you.
Dr. Henson.
Mr. President, Board of Managers Vickers, Board of Manager Terry. In today's superintendent report, we have a comprehensive look regarding our 2021 reentry plan, our CARES Act grant, our instructional materials allotment update, our special education in-class support, and then the overview of the takeoff plan, our district strategic plan. So we will begin with our 2021 reentry plan timeline and survey feedback with our Executive Director of Student Services, Dr. Stacey Parker.
Mm.
Good afternoon, President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson.
There's a delay.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to talk to you about our reentry plans for the 2020-2021 school year. We'll take a look at the timeline and we'll discuss some of the survey feedback that we received in constructing our plans. So looking at our timeline in accordance with our flight plan for this year, we took a look at the reentry process. And so we began in June, already talking through the planning process with weekly team meetings. We moved into June as well as gathering assessment and feedback on our calendar options in light of the current state that we're in. On June 8th, we did provide you with an update, the first update to share those results and our calendar options, in which we've chosen our calendar for the upcoming school year. We then began in the middle of June reentry planning, and that was defining cross-functional teams to gather the input for all of our stakeholders in that planning process across our various departmental functions. June 24th through the 30th, we began the engagement, and that's where we presented our staff members and stakeholders with micro planning teams. And so in those smaller teams, they plan to really look at specific functions that we would need to consider for a safe reentry for our scholars. Today, I am going to provide you with the second update to show you a final draft of our 2020-2021 reentry plan for the district. And then moving forward, we will begin our staff training and execution of the plan, preparing our buildings and our technology and things that we need for a safe reopen. And August 3rd is still our first day of school. So just to give you a brief update, I did share with you in the first update that our reentry plan, we had 4 options that we were looking at to consider. One, with schools opening with a minimum need for social distancing. The second option was schools open with significant need for social distancing. The third option, that our schools open with alternate calendar of intermittent closures and a need for social distancing. But that was also looking at a variety of hybrid learning models, both virtual and on-site. And then the option 4 was to not open school and continue with the remote learning. We did poll our families on their concerns and their feelings about coming back or re-entering to the school based on those options. We had 148 families to complete the survey, which is a great result. They were kind of split amongst the various options. So with schools opening on August 3rd with minimum need, of course, that was the smallest of the 3.1%. Schools opening on August 3rd with a significant need for social distancing gained more of a percentage. Schools open with a modified schedule to allow for alternate ways to learn, virtual and on-site, with a little more at 19. And then the next one was the school began online only. No school entry was lower considerably. So most of our parents favored the continuance of the online, and some were still undecided. I do want to note, though, that in the feedback there was opportunities for comments, and many of the families stated that while they chose this one, it was really based on CDC guidelines and the state that we would be in based on COVID, but that they were more undecided with other questions as we move forward. So looking at our public health considerations, we did receive a TA update on July 7th, where TA really outlined a process in looking at the reentry for schools. So TA recognized that right now it's not possible to eliminate all risk of furthering COVID-19. The current science suggests that there are many steps that we can take to reduce the risk. So our state agency is leaning on mitigation of the risk of getting COVID, and that's been the focus. So they've outlined 4 sets of practices that they are requiring school districts to follow to minimize the likelihood of viral spread on the campuses. So one, they are requiring that we provide notice. And so I will show you how we plan to provide notice for our public and our families. 2, they're requiring practices to be in place for prevention of the spread. 3, they're requiring practice for us to respond to any lab confirmed cases of COVID. And then 4, to mitigate. They have both recommended and required practices to reduce the likelihood of spread inside of the school. So how will Marlin respond? So for providing notice, we plan to post on our website, which I will show you momentarily. We have been posting to social media. We will now utilize our school messenger, where we send out voice dial messages notifying our parents of the changes. And then of course we will communicate with you through our board of managers meetings. How will we prevent? We are going to self-screen for the COVID-19 symptoms before entry. We'll have policies in place for students and parents. With lab confirmed COVID-19, that'll include screening questions and social distancing measures throughout our campuses and facilities. We're going to respond with response protocols that we're putting in place for any lab confirmed cases, of course, following and keeping in line with all confidentiality measures in accordance with FERPA, and then mitigate, of course, things like sanitizers at the entrances in the classroom, frequent hand washing breaks, frequent cleaning, and of course, we are being issued some PPE equipment through our Region Service Center that we will have access to as well. So what does return to school look like for Marlin? So we have a return to school plan for the first 6 weeks. Week 1, we will connect with the curriculum, technology, and each other. So our plan is to have a staggered start to school, and that is week 1. We will continue for that to be remotely. All of our students in Marlin ISD will be at home, and we'll get them acclimated to the technology that we will provide, our curriculum that we've developed, our other technology resources that they will have, and just kind of go through also with our social emotional learning, as that's going to be a vital part of helping our students with the reentry process. Week 2, we will phase in by having our elementary students return to campus. And then while the elementary students are phasing into the campus, our secondary students will continue with week 1 of their curriculum at home remotely. Then week 3, we're going to have our secondary students return to campus. We've mapped out the first 6 weeks, so once we have the students all on campus, we will start our beginning of the year assessments. We will also perform safety measure checks, making sure that we are still operating in compliance and keeping with our promise of ensuring a safe environment for our teachers, our staff, and our students, and then we'll adjust as warranted by regulations. One thing is for certain, more plans could come about, or more regulations, so we want to spot check here. Week 5, we will take our students deeper into the curriculum as we shift our focus to instruction and getting them prepared for our week 6 takeoff. And in accordance with our flight plan, we anticipate fully aligned operations to excel our scholars to excellence. We do have the full reentry plan, including COVID-19 protocols, and now posted on our district's website. If you want to quickly to show you where it is, we will be able to, go to our main page. We have our COVID-19 updates. And this will be an alert to drive our families here so they don't have to dig for it. But with our COVID-19, we do have our COVID-19 reentry response. And our family and staff can completely read our process about the reentry into school, our plans for the 2020-2021 school year. Families do have the option to keep their scholars at home, but they have to opt in. And per TA guidelines, we need that option for them to opt in so that we could plan in accordance with their guidelines the type of remote instruction that we will be providing. There are new requirements now that our scholars must be in lockstep with those students that are on campus in those classes. So it would be like they were actually at school, at home, and so there's lots of parameters and things we have to put in place. But if you scroll to the bottom of that page down, each area, they will be able to look specifically for what that plan is at the elementary school level, middle school, high school. Special education and our CTE plans will be readily available this week as well. And so they will be able to click those links to see what that looks like at the elementary level. And that gets a little more specific with our commitment to cleaning, our commitment to social distancing, our commitment to maintaining a safe environment. They can read in every area. Okay, we can go back to the presentation. So based on those recent communications with the commissioner, with the exception of our 3 weeks, they did give us a 3-week grace. So with the exception of our 3-week transition period at the beginning of the year, the districts can't mandate parents to keep their children at home for virtual learning. This can only be an option. And so as a result, we are going to offer virtual learning via Marlin Virtual Academy, but we're just coining it. It's not a separate school, but it's just our option for our remote learning. This is by parent opt-in only through a commitment form, and then on-site learning with that 3-week phase-in plan as allowed. For the reentry plan, that's where we are today. I did want to show how we are committed to keeping our staff and our students and families safe. We did have our pre-kindergarten and kindergarten roundup on July 8th at the Marlin Elementary campus from 3 to 5. Part of our communication, we are creating videos and putting things on social media to publicize the event. Quickly, I just want to show you a snippet of the video that was created to publicize the pre-kindergarten and kindergarten roundup.
Registration is now open for one ISD's outstanding pre-K and kindergarten program. If your child is 3, 4, or 5 on or 7 March 2020 of this year, you are eligible to register. If that is the case, please plan to attend our pre-K and kindergarten roundup on Wednesday, July 8th, 2020, between the hours of 3 and 5.
As a result of this video and our other marketing efforts, we had a great turnout. We had over 30 parents show up to register, and so that was within just a week of publicizing the event. So with our increased plan to communicate, I have every bit of confidence that our families will start to receive the information that they need and respond accordingly. Parents were pleased with the process. They were very optimistic about returning. The event was actually covered by the Channel 10 News in Waco. And so just a quick snippet of that. Anna?
Educating students in Marlin is a big challenge.
Great news. It's great news, positive.
Requiring schools to have both on-campus and at-home learning options for the upcoming year. So how would one of the most underperforming school districts in Texas handle this? News Central's Sean has more from Marlin.
Marlin ISD was already struggling to stay open. Now they're having to reopen with more struggles than ever before. Every single thing has been rewritten and reconsidered. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, the Texas Education Agency is making schools provide both face-to-face and remote learning options for students. Safety and health are number one priority. Of course, we're considering that with how we deliver the highest quality instruction for our students. While safety is the goal, all the restrictions that come with it hurt learning. I can't say yes and I cannot say no. What I will say is we'll see what we can do. Moms like Marquia McElroy say it's too soon to tell. As a parent, I have concerns, but it's kind of one of those things you're gonna roll with. Wednesday was the pre-K and kindergarten roundup at Marlin Elementary, where families are walking through the registration process. We're making sure that our kids are ready to start their first day. For McElroy's 3-year-old, the first day of pre-K will be here at school. Now, though she's worried her child could get sick, new administrators at Marlin, she feels they're in good hands.
But I do foresee teachers and other administrative people around making sure that our kids get exactly what they're needing. The TEA says the coronavirus will.
And so just wanted to highlight that that's what we want to trend upward with that type of feedback from our families. So when they stand in front of the news cameras, then you hear great things like that. That's the optimism. So although we're in the midst of a pandemic, we're very optimistic that we can have a safe re-entry into our schools. Our parents seem to be gaining more confidence in the ability to bring their students safely to our campuses and are in great anticipation of what this upcoming year has to offer. there any questions that you all would like to ask?
Thank you.
For your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Parker. Next, we'll have Mr. Lawrence Galloway, Chief Academic Officer, providing an update on the elementary and secondary school emergency relief grant, our CARES Act.
Good afternoon, Board President, Superintendent. Today I just want to tell you about the results from ESSER, we also refer to the correct care grant budget, and where we actually plan to utilize these funds for this coming school year. As everyone knows, these funds were given to school districts as a relief effort for COVID, to give them some additional support in areas to make sure that we open safely and follow TA guidelines and other federal guidelines. So the committee got together and came up with a budget. As we stated previously, a couple of board meetings back, we would start taking indirect costs from grants so that we are able to utilize them in other areas. And our indirect cost percentage is 5.8 to 5%. So coming back to the district, you can almost think of it as revenue, would be the $24,000. Then from the remaining funds, we plan to buy, or not buy a person, but employ an additional custodian to specifically address COVID issues, as well as a maintenance worker. The dean of instruction, the two deans of instruction and instructional coaches that you all approved today will come out of this CARES Act funding as well. And their main focus will be to ensure that instruction goes forward with instructional technology, supporting our instructional practices online with our teachers to make sure that they have that support, and looking at assignments to make sure that they are aligned to our curriculum as well.
Can you also please explain to the board how we plan on carrying on the costs in future years despite the CARES Act funding potentially going away next year?
So we plan to continue to always take indirect costs from grants, but these positions, because they are pure supplemental, can also come out of our title grants, our Title II. So they will switch funding. If hopefully we don't get, this is a case we don't want this money again. But if we do, they will stay in this fund code, but if not, we will switch them to our supplemental grant funds. They will continue to stay in the cycle because they are considered an additional support personnel and now not traditional funding. We will also use the remaining $25,000 that will go towards supplies for all of our students from Marlin ISD. This is part of the information, and it's part of the later portion where we will be supplying students from Marlin ISD with all of this. Any questions for me?
Federal funds or state funds?
CARES Act is federal funds.
Federal. Okay.
Then we'll have our IMA update, instructional material allotment from Mr. Lawrence Galloway, Chief Academic Officer.
So at our last meeting, you all approved for us to look for our bid for our instructional materials to do that adoption for our K-8 as well as 9 through 12 ELA. The committee got together, we looked at different examples of instructional materials. And we wanted to focus on making sure that we were COVID focused when it comes to online learning or face-to-face traditional learning. So we made sure that we found a vendor that was able to supply us with tangible goods as well as online goods that could link to our curriculum and to our websites to make sure families can access information no matter where they are. And it's the same information virtually or face-to-face. So we have gone with Pearson. Will be our resource for ELA K through 12, and this is a breakdown of how much we're spending per grade level. And in this, we will also get what's called consumables, which will be a workbook. The workbook will also be available online, which can be utilized by our MBA students from all virtual academies. And then when that student does return to face-to-face, they can fall right in line because they've seen the same material and a part of the same flow. So we were able to really do a very good deal by talking to them directly, and because we are a smaller population, they're able to turn us around and get this to us as soon as possible. So you already approved this information. This is a result from that approval with IMA. Any questions about those instructional materials?
Next up, we'll have the special education in-class support and procedural guidelines from Jesse Bustamante, Director of Special Education and Human Resources.
Good afternoon, Board President Johnson. Good afternoon, Board Manager, Dr. Henson. My initial meeting I held with the Director of the Co-op program, Terry Ramwell, and we came up with some areas for growth for our district. The title of my presentation is in-class support, because that is our biggest need in the district right now as far as servicing our kids in Martin ISD. So I'll go ahead and 3 stages of implementation. I identified our immediate needs for July and August. Number 1 being reviewing our current plan of special education and analyzing our data that we have right now for our students. Number 2, provide special education overview and expectations to our staff. We've developed a presentation that we will present to our staff before the school year starts, so that way they're informed of anything new that we're going to start doing in our district. Also making sure we review the staffing needs, making sure our ratios are accurate in our classrooms, and making sure that we have enough teachers and facilitators in those classrooms to best serve our students. Also, clarifying teacher roles for in-class support. That was an area of improvement for us right now. So we're going to identify the roles for the teachers that serve our students in the inclusion model, making sure that they know what their role is in the classroom. Our short-term plan for September, October, and November, create a teacher survey, so that way we can get feedback from our teachers to see what they need, any new ideas that our teachers may have that we can implement to better serve our students. We're open to feedback from our teachers. Meet with the chief academic officer to review data, see where we're at right now and where we want to be in the future as far as academic goals. Also improve our referral process. We're in the process of developing a referral process for the entire district of Martin, so that way we're the same across the board, from Martin Elementary to the junior academy to the high school. We're identifying our students the same way across the board. Train general education teachers. After speaking with the co-op, we identified that our teachers, our gen ed teachers, need more training to help facilitate the inclusion model. So we provide training for our general education teachers with the in-class support model. Long-term plan, develop action plans. So we're going to take a look at everything that we need improvement on and develop processes that way we can address those issues. Non-compliance, making sure that we're logging our minutes when we do inclusion, making sure that our procedures are correct and the same across the board. Also attend special education department meetings, post quarterly special education letter for the entire district, making sure that I communicate with all our stakeholders in our community as far as special education goes for Martin ISD. And then just develop relationships with all our stakeholders, making sure that it's a smooth transition and the change of leadership, so that way everybody knows is well informed for the things that we're doing in Martin ISD for our students. July 21st, special education parent night. It's going to start at 5 p.m. and we're going to have it at the high school auditorium. That'll be a chance for me to introduce myself to the parents, to the students, and to also to any of the teachers from Martin ISD. So I invite you all to come on that night, July 21st at 5 p.m.
Thank you. Board President Johnson, Board Members, Mrs. Taylor, Mr. Biggs. Now we have an overview of the takeoff, the district's strategic plan for how we're going to operate our projects in our instructional plan for the 2020 and 2021 school year. I am excited to be able to have the team begin to present phase 1, because we are on a navigation plan to truly elevate Marlin ISD. As I stated last month, we just can't run fast, we can't drive fast. We need jet fuel to take off and get us where we need to be. So hold on to your seats and to your hats and buckle up. I'm very excited for what the team is going to present as it relates to the takeoff. Now, the takeoff is going to be, once again, our strategic plan. And here are our core beliefs. We have a responsibility to prepare students with an education that prepares them for the life's challenges. Life is not difficult, and education is the great equalizer. So by preparing them, providing them with education, they'll be ready to go. Now, we can make sure that the projects and programs that we do have an immediate impact around the district. We can't look out 3 years from now, 2 years from now, right now. And so this immediate impact will ensure that the takeoff plan is going to impact Marlin in August, in September, in October of this current year. And then, of course, we can provide a great education, but environment is important. So as you hear about our facilities and the upgrades that we want to make, we have to make sure that your mind is 21st century as well as your learning environment. So I'm excited, get ready, and here we go. Lawrence Galloway, Chief Academic Officer, to go over phase 1 of facilities.
Board. So part of phase 1, as we presented to you all, that we're introducing part of the takeoff plan is a facility. On June 17th, on June 17th, we did a facilities walk. We're actually calling it a listening tour, where the leadership team walked with principal, assistant principal, and we literally walked the building. We almost touched every brick, every side railing, every door, so that we can examine what are the needs that our students need for the first day of school, and what are some of the needs of all in ISD. We went to every single principal and had to document some of their needs. Granted, we broke these out into pressing needs. There were safety issues, there were health issues that we needed to fix. Particularly, I want to point out there were some issues, and that's changing, at the high school. There are definitely some cause of concern if you ever walk the high school for some upgrades that need to happen. We do have some plans in the work, but that's a longer and more of a drawn out conversation. But more of our immediate needs, if you would click on, and I don't know, does that mean, the Marlin Elementary plan or the middle school?
I just did high school.
Oh, sorry. Either one, go that. Either one, you can, that's fine. I will take whichever one comes first. So this is part of the plan where we broke it down into different categories and things that needed to be fixed. So what we have done is taken this information, and if you want, you can go into the links yourself, and you can see the different needs that we have on each campus. From this, Dr. Henson has turned it into a project plan where we will assign duties, particularly with our maintenance and facilities and custodial staff, for things that need to be fixed for the first day of school by August 3rd. Some of the things do revolve around tiles, painting, doors that need to be fixed, locks, bathrooms. For example, one thing I can point out particularly, if you walked around what we're calling now the rotunda in the high school, the water fountain is sitting on two 2x4 blocks. So those are some of the things that we pointed out that definitely need to be fixed for our students. Old carpet, vents that may be leaking, or they may have condensation that's leaking from it. Things like that is what we walked around all 3 campuses. And we literally spent the entire day with the principal and let them say, why do we need this fixed? How soon do you need this fixed? What do we need it to look like? And we calibrated colors, we calibrated style, we calibrated the overall need for every single student from elementary to high school. So this comprehensive plan that goes from here to our work plan will have dates. All of these dates, to take care of the takeoff with facility upgrades as well as technology upgrades. If you go back to the agenda, this is an addition today. As we do the facilities and technology upgrades, we've already started the planning, started the purchasing process for our pre-K 3 to 2nd grade students to take care of the new TEA plan, to make sure that they have iPads. So this would be part of those students being at home that first week of school. Then going even further, part of this money is with—
And Mr. Lejeune, can you click on one? I really want for the board to see the cost of these materials.
So this is to address those distant learning issues that we have. And this is particularly focused on our Dean of Instruction, our instructional coaches, working with teachers on how to use the technology to make sure that we are addressing these students. So this device particularly will work with the iPads that the students will be receiving, as well as the Google Chromebooks that our 3 through 5 students will be receiving. So this is to support, document, trace data, and as well as present during those professional development days for our Dean of Instruction and instructional coaches. So these are some of the proposals, and we've started the purchase process to go ahead and do these facilities, to complete the facility and technology upgrades that we are needed from that plan. Does anyone
And can you
have-
please detail how we're going to pay for these materials?
So part of the takeoff plan, as we mentioned before, is coming from the reserve, and we're tracking all of our funds that are coming from the reserve as well. So make sure that you all are kept abreast and aware of how much this actual takeoff plan is going to cost the district. So it's very important too that we understand that all of these things, everything that we've done so far with facility upgrades, address health, safety, and just overall upgrades that need to happen to the campus based on things that should have been done estimated 10 years ago. Now we're catching up. So it may get a little costly because we're doing things from 8, 9, 10 years ago. We're trying to get it done in a short amount of time. Any questions for me? Is this me? And the next part of the takeoff plan is phase 1, realignment of student-teacher ratio and money savings. One day, Dr. Henson, myself, the administrators, the leadership team, as well as principals and APs got together, and we went and fine-tuned and looked at every single master scale from elementary to high school to see where we were over in staff, where we were under in staff, where we had vacancies and positions that needed to be filled. So what we did was we actually, as a team, reviewed everybody's master scale. We reviewed programs. We reviewed other resources that either we have that we were no longer utilizing, or positions that were vacant through attrition. So I'm proud to say today that we are still within the state's recommended ratios. We are kind of on the edge with some of our lower elementary, but that's something that we're going to track. That's if all of them show up, we will be at this number. Of course, we have to stay within the 22-to-1 for our K through 4th grade. I'm hoping that we don't have to do any waivers, but if we do, that may not be a bad thing, and we will have more students coming to Marlin State. But we're definitely going to keep an eye on this and report to you all periodically about where we are with waivers. 6th grade, we are way below our student-teacher ratio, and these are just averages of how our classrooms will sit. Of course, band, PE sometimes sit a little heavier, just because they have more space and more students may select that course. But this is traditionally average with our core content, but on average across all schedules, this is our student-to-teacher ratio. Typically at high school, middle school, you might see 25-to-1, 26-to-1. But as you can see again, we are below that ratio.
And that's important to note, board, because we want to make sure that we have manageable and smaller than average classroom sizes. Because it's important that we have teachers in every classroom, whether we're trying to do COVID distancing or not. We want to make sure that we can provide that attention that every student needs. And so we're not sitting on average 28 to a class. We're sitting to where it's well below the state average, and that's phenomenal. And I think that's what parents appreciate about Marlin ISD, knowing that your child will get that attention in a smaller ratio than if you were in a neighboring district.
So, and what I'm very proud about with Dr. Henson's leadership, we were able to achieve these numbers without having to let anyone go. We didn't have to rip any position. We didn't have to basically terminate any positions at all. What we did do, we did not, sorry, that's a question. It didn't pop back up. Here we go. No, there it is. Yeah. We had vacancies in the district that we just did not fill at the time, and we realigned the master schedule, we realigned the core content or the core sequencing to make sure that the students still receive the same type of instruction, the same quality instruction. So what we did in savings, we had a vacancy in elementary that we did not fill, a vacancy in 5th grade science, an additional, and all these were additional positions that we did not fill. Middle school, we had a vacancy in writing. Well, we did something that was very creative. We double blocked writing with a 1.5, meaning the ELA 7th grade teacher will have those students for a block and a half, but they have that additional time to do the ELA and as well as the writing, but they have those same kids and they switch with math. So math and ELA in 7th grade, they have additional time. They have a block and a half of instruction. So it's built-in intervention time. So not only did we save money, we also built in intervention time with more time on instruction for our students, particularly in 7th grade. High school, we had a high school vacancy in math. Then we also had 2 CTE vacancies that we did not fill. We're not saying that we're going to end either of these programs, but we are going to review it and realign it to our graduation endorsements, because we really do want to bring these programs back, but we want to make sure that we have quality instruction in these courses, and that it's to the best benefit of the students and Marlin ISD. Out of all of this, this is our savings with only adding 1 position in fine arts for dance. And these numbers are average salaries with benefits and everything. The only position that we did add was a fine arts dance that would be shared between the middle and the high school. Overall, this is our total savings, just realigning, getting rid of programs, not filling positions that we were able to achieve with our realignment and student-teacher ratio. Any questions? No questions? Was that good? Okay, thank you.
You want me to click for you, Adam?
I'm gonna stay on this side because I think it's distance is what was caused.
Oh, okay.
So, Coach Johnson, board, Dr. Hinson, pretty happy to be able to show you these slides today. This is some things that I've personally been trying to get done for a while. And, you know, we're in the right time to do it. So I'm happy to go through these with you. Technology updates. So we've been talking a lot about one-to-one, and I haven't really had an opportunity to explain all that really meant. So one-to-one means a device for every child. And as of right now, every child from 3rd grade to 12th grade will have a Chromebook laptop device that they can take home so that they can access internet filtered, whether they're here or they're at home, they're still filtered. If they're at home, they'll use their home Wi-Fi, personal hotspot, or we do have 250 hotspots that you guys approved for us last year that we will be able to check out to those households that have that need. They'll be able to access thousands of free or school licensed educational resources, all the textbooks that Ms. Parker and Mr. Guy were talking about before. We have Reading for Fun plan books on ebooks. We have interactive lessons and websites they can go to and get hands-on with those technology resources. We'll be able to integrate those digital citizenship skills, which are so critical whenever the internet is this big scary place. Our kids will have more exposure. They'll have keyboarding built into every lesson, of course, problem solving, reading. It's on the internet, so you're gonna have to read something. Peer collaboration on every project or every assignment if the teacher chooses to do it that way. And then you can actually share that to your peers without a piece of paper, without having to turn it in to your teacher and then wait to see your grade come back, without the need for printing. And then obviously communication is a lot more effective whenever everybody has a reliable device that they'll be able to use to communicate. And the plan at the time of this creation was for pre-K through 2nd grade, pre-K 3 through 2nd grade, to get a class set of iPads for their use in a station or rotation. With some of the decisions, I guess, made by TEA in terms of how we're supposed to stay open, this will maybe change. But for right now, this is already in process. So, and iPads instead of Chromebooks for those younger grades so that they can focus on the content, not necessarily on how to use the keyboard, you know, how to use it. If they're not really able to read yet, then we're not going to ask them to use a keyboard in order to interact with anything. But this much. So, as you guys probably know, but I just wanted to go over them, we do have other projects that are also in process. The Wi-Fi access points that you guys approved earlier are in process. They should be here within the next 3 weeks. If I had some wood to knock on, I'd do it. Everyone's trying to do the same thing that we are, obviously. So, you know, we are anticipating to have consistent, strong, secure Wi-Fi access in every classroom. This will help support all of our new devices, including the existing devices that we have already in use in different classrooms. Also, part of our yearly replacement schedule, we are moving flat panel TVs, such as this one.
Instructional displays.
Instructional display devices into classrooms. This is actually, this TV is only really,
Instructional display.
this instructional display device is only connected to power. These other wires are because there's a power strip right there, but the only thing plugged into this right now is power. So that means that this image is wireless. So this device, this instructional display, can be moved anywhere in the classroom that it's effective. The teacher will be able to walk around with their laptop anywhere that they can be effective. And we're bringing these into classrooms. We're starting with the rooms that either are missing something, that are newly utilized rooms, or rooms that we identified towards the end of last year that have some display issues. And the interesting thing is that these are not more expensive than a projector. These actually cost less than a projector. They're higher quality. They'll last longer because we're not replacing bulbs. They give us more freedom, better access. Kids can see them from the back of the room. We're really excited to get these in front of the kids. Do you guys have any questions about this part?
Now, the next part is the exciting part that I really wanted for you all to see.
Well, Adam's already more excited than he's ever. It's like new personality.
Yes,
all right.
Love it, love it.
So, as Dr. Henson was mentioning before about some of our plans for these facilities, we have something that we're calling the Staples Learning Centers. This is an unofficial title. Please, Staples, don't sue. But we are partnering with Staples in order to get these items. First, let me bring this up. So if we think about it this way, a one-to-one computer initiative makes labs redundant. So instead of what you would get in a lab being the place in the building where you have to go just to use a computer, we're going to bring in opportunity rooms that change the context of doing work on the computer to something that's rewarding. Instead of those rigid rows of computers where kids sit against the wall and they're staring at the wall, they're right next to those are set up more for teacher visibility than quality of the student work. So instead, how about comfortable, customizable spaces that emphasize collaboration and content exploration? And then we think back about what the labs are, why they're there. We're just using the spaces the same way they've always been used because that's always what they've been used for before. So instead of that, we're trying to recontextualize those open areas. We're going to make them into types of spaces that can be impromptu collaboration spaces, sticky spaces, or even spaces that a class can go to and do work, but not just schoolwork, real world style collaborative work like we do in the office at the admin building, like they would do when they're going to college, or like they would do at any job that requires you to use a computer. So we, as I said, are partnering with Staples, and we are creating 6 spaces covering all 3 campuses. There's the elementary and middle school library. There's 2 middle school computer labs here that we're going to repurpose. There's a very large room that we call the Super Lab at the vocational building that we're going to repurpose. And then the downstairs high school library computer lab, there's a storage area next to that. We're going to make that one big space, and we're calling that the Rotunda, which is, I guess, the round area. But that's going to be the Rotunda Learning Center. We've already had one sort of design meeting, and they've suggested some items here. These are the types of items and furniture that we're looking at. So we have whiteboards, tables that can be whiteboards on the table, some comfortable seating options, classic cafe-style tables, a more traditional sort of desk that a person could sit at, comfortable seating like chairs, stools, bean bags even. And these are just sort of the first pass. So here's an example, that high school library lab section there underneath that lab. This is a square room, but in reality, this is representing that curved room here. Here you can see that we have conference table style seating for collaborative work. We have whiteboards that can be moved around and create separate spaces. We have cafe seating with high chairs so that small groups can work together. We have small presentation spaces with circular couches so that you have kids that can practice their work. And then, this doesn't have to be necessarily even a class that goes there. It can just be people who are sort of clumping together to perform work. So Super Lab is another big room. That's the one that's at vocational. You can see the same sorts of items. This room is a little bit different because we wanted to see individual tables that could be clustered together or sort of used individually. Again, we have the heavy use of the whiteboards, conferencing tables, comfortable seating, and these are first passes. So some of this, or probably a lot of this is going to change. Here you go for the elementary and middle school library, just an example of some of the ways that we could arrange things. You can see that this is also a big square, but it's sort of shaped like the outline of this room that we're in here. Again, just a mix of different places that kids can go in order to do work and not feel like they're sitting in those really structured rows and have to sit here and have to do this. Now the labs here and down the other end of this building, just again, some more examples of what kind of ideas we're looking at for those rooms. And again, those are just the first pass. That's just the first steps. We actually have the design team coming here tomorrow, and we're going to kind of go over this and talk more about what sort of furniture items we would like to see, finishing options, layouts, different things like that, and so that they can update their floor plans and help us get that. This is only the first time that we're seeing this project, so I will definitely be bringing this to you guys in the future. Are there any questions about this?
So as mentioned earlier, Board President Johnson, Board Manager, as mentioned earlier by Mr. Galloway, our focus is ensuring that our students come to school in a safe environment. We have decided this year through CARES Act funding to provide every Marlin ISD student with their school supplies for the use. Parents will not have to purchase the essentials for what our students need to learn. Show up with your mind turned on, and we will take care of the rest. Providing our students with a device, whether it's a Chromebook or an iPad, and providing students with that laptop carrying case. That's branded to say, I am a Marlin ISD student, is the priority, the focus, and the goal of how we care about our children. People can say that they care, but at Marlin ISD, we do care, we show it, and we love our scholars every single day. So parents, if you're listening, you do not have to provide school supplies for your student this year at Marlin ISD. We are grateful for you. We look forward to working with you. And we're very excited about this. And this does conclude my superintendent report for July 13th.
Okay, any other? Have anything else? Not, we stand adjourned.